In this presentation, I am going to discuss on the rest of things related to Windows. As I mentioned in my previous video, this presentation is based on Windows operating system document published by William Stallings. In this presentation, I am going to talk about Windows memory management, I/O manager, file system, and cluster server. So let's move on step by step. At the time this document was written, it was 32-bit address space, a process sees. So that allowed a process 4 GB of memory. But by default, the process cannot use total amount. As you can see in the picture, since 2 GB by default reserved for operating system. But this limit can be changed through an option when performance tuning processes. So as you see in image, user space is 2 GB minus 122 kilobytes. 64 kilobytes reserved from the top to catch null pointer arguments and another 64 kilobytes for a guard page, avoiding always to check on out of bound pointer references. In practice, a page can be on any of the following states. A page can be available, reserved, or committed states. So now let's move on to see Windows I/O Manager. It contains 4 basic modules: Cache Manager, which provide caching from main memory and network components; file system drivers, route messages to appropriate software driver; hardware device driver, access hardware registers of the peripheral devices through Windows Executive. So let's move on to Windows file system. Windows file system discussion is based on NTFS file system. NTFS was designed with the aim of high-end applications. That file system has following features: recoverability, security, large disk and large file support, multiple data streams, general indexing facility are some of those. Among those, recoverability aspects will be discussed later. So let's have a look at NTFS disk storage concepts. In NTFS, a sector is 512 bytes almost always. It's considered as smallest physical storage unit on the disk. A cluster is one or more continuous sectors. It may vary the number of sectors, but it always has size in sectors is a power of 2. Volume is a collection of clusters in a single or multiple disks. Maximum volume size for NTFS can support is 2 to the power 64 bytes. Currently, the maximum number of 2 to the power 32 clusters is the file size if a cluster has 2 to the power 16 bytes. NTFS depends on cluster size in order to be independent from sector size. Because there may be non-standard disks that do not have 512 byte sector size, or the sector size may even grow in future. The NTFS volume layout can be described as this. Partition boot sector to store volume layout information. Master file table to store all information about files and folders. System files have several components including log file, cluster bitmap, etc. And file area used to store fuel data. So let's have a look at Windows cluster server components. When we look at the diagram, we can see several important components in Windows cluster server. Node manager is responsible for a single node for a single node. It manages the node membership. Cluster-aware application calls through Cluster API and use resource management interface to access resource data. Event processor connects those components of cluster and handles common operations. So that's the basic operations of Windows cluster server. So that's the end of the video also. So I guess you have to get an idea about how Windows operating system works, and from architecture level to different features, and how memory manages, how cluster servers. So thank you very much for listening.